Welcome back. We did Whiteface via the Blueberry Trail. So for this one, we ended up leaving pretty early. We left the house right around 5 o'clock. It was about an hour-and-a-half drive. We got there just right before 7, and I think we ended up actually hitting the trailhead right around 7. There's quite a few trailheads from what I understand that you can get out of that parking lot. We ended up doing the Whiteface via the Blueberry Trail. And that parking lot, you got like this amazing view. We hit there, it was just about sunrise, a little after, and you just got this like really beautiful field across from where you park. When you're starting out on this trail, you end up walking right down the road for about a quarter mile, half mile before you get to the trailhead. You're walking by people's houses. Even when you get to the actual trailhead where you're gonna start, it kind of looks like you're just walking down somebody's driveway. But then it starts getting marked relatively well. So this ends up being about an 8-mile round trip with about 3,400 feet of elevation gain. The first 2 miles is relatively, I would say, mild. You just got a bunch of rocks you're walking up. It's not overly steep. It's really just a super nice trail until you get to where you start really hitting all the elevation. Time-wise, it should take you right around 5 to 7 hours, I would say, depending on how much time you spend at the top or how much time you spend during the scrambles and all that stuff. So the trail starts with a gentle ascent through the forest before you get to the steeper, rockier areas. When we were out there, it was snowing, but it didn't start snowing until I would say halfway through the hike, where you really started noticing it. It was really kind of surreal at first because it's October, you're down at the bottom, there's no snow, you start going up and the snow starts coming through thicker and heavier, but it was really nice to see. When you get to some of these, the ledges, you get to see some really crazy views of the lake region, and it seems like you can see for miles and miles. It's almost wild how much you can see from there. It was a relatively cloudy day for part of it, so when you're looking, you see the clouds rolling through. Some of them are in front of you, some of them are way out. You get to see the sun peeking through. It's really nice. In my opinion, this is probably one of my more favorite hikes I've done in at least the last couple of years. It wasn't just like straight up. It wasn't just like a total workout the whole time. When you get up there, you get to see some different scrambles. You're doing a little bit of climbing here and there. It's really pretty fun. Just a puddle. I will say that we were doing a little bit of slipping, a little bit of sliding with the snow at the top. The leaves didn't make it any better. You got the roots. So right now, this time of year, I would say it's a little bit more challenging than I would assume it would be in the middle of the summer where everything's dry and you can see the forest bed and all of that. I mean, with that being said, I would probably make sure that you have some decent shoes on for this one, at least this time of year. I don't think you need any spikes or your snow stuff. I don't think it's quite there yet, but it's definitely gonna come real soon. While we were out on the trail this time, we only saw, I think, 2 other people. First, always they come from behind. It was like a lady, I don't know if she was trail running or what she was doing, but she was making it up. She beat us way before we got back down. She even stopped to talk to us for a little bit, just about the trail and where we're heading and how we're gonna get there. She made it sound like she does this on a regular basis, and it was pretty cool. When you get to the top, you get to see a whole bunch of these ledges, a whole bunch of views. You keep looking up, there's just more. I don't want to call them false summits, but it does get a little difficult to tell how much higher you got to go. Once you get past all of the actual views, you're just walking down a trail. You literally look over, and then there's the marker for the actual summit itself.
Is there a sign right there?
Nah, just a couple rocks. We walked by it. We didn't even realize that we were there. We had to check the all trails just to make sure we didn't get too far. So you got to make sure you're a little bit cognizant of where you're at when you get to the top. So on the way up, like I said, you got all these rocks you got to climb up. I mean, we were looking up, I was like, man, I don't even know how we're gonna get up some of these. Obviously we ended up making it, and I was relatively concerned about coming down, but I will say, like, coming down was actually a lot easier. I just slid on my butt on most of the rocks, and it was a lot easier than I thought it was gonna be. I don't think this one is one of the terrifying 25 or anything like that, but there was some spots where you could see that they used to have like ladders embedded into the rocks in themselves. For whatever reason, they're not there anymore. So you gotta kind of scoot down. It was a little slick, so we try not to do anything too fast just because I'm not that experienced at it. He wasn't that experienced at it, but it was all in all a real cool descent. After we reached the actual summit, we ended up heading back to one of the ledges to sit down, have some food. You know, we had to have the summit beer. We soaked up some of the views, just chatted. I mean, it was a nice spot to stop. I will say it was probably about 30 degrees up there, so I get super cold super easy. My hands were getting a little crampy from that, but it was a good spot to stop at and just kind of take in everything. So once you get past all the scrambles that we came up, you got a ton of rocks. Like, there's just rocks everywhere. There's rock stairs. There's just rocks here. There's rocks there. It's just, the rock pile was probably the best beer we could have chose for this hike. You just kind of deal with the rocks for the second half of this whole hike. Once you get past those though, it's real smooth, gradual downward. I will say, like, my knees were getting a little bit more achy just because you're walking across a bunch of rocks, even on the descent. So it's just a lot of impact, like you're walking on concrete. But I could not complain about this hike if I really tried to, as far as hiking goes. I was a little concerned when we decided to choose this hike during this time of the year. I was assuming that we were going to end up seeing a ton of people looking for leaves, a ton of traffic. We did end up going during the middle of the week, so maybe that's what mitigated some of it. But like I said, there was only, at the trailhead, us, 2 other cars. That was it. We didn't see that many cars when we came back. There was like just one older couple that was looking at that field that I had spoke about earlier. It was quiet up there. Like, I was really surprised. I don't know if it was because of the snow or people just not coming up because it was the middle of the week, but we didn't see a ton of people. I had seen, at least on Reddit, that a lot of people were over on the Artisan Bluff, and it was just like shoulder to shoulder traffic, people just throwing trash everywhere. You were up there, you couldn't even see anything if you really wanted to other than other people. So it was really like a breath of fresh air to not have a ton of people up there. I genuinely hate going on hikes where you're just in a single file line the whole time. That is not what I'm doing. It's not what I want to do. It's not for me. So it ended up taking us about 8.5 hours to complete the whole hike. We probably spent I'd say a solid hour of it just looking at the views. When we stopped, ate, had the summit beer. I was trying to warm up. He was changing his socks. So I think all in all, average person, you could get this done in about 7 hours. I would assume if you do a lot more hiking and this is just your thing, you could probably get this one done in about 5 hours if you're not trying to hang out and enjoy the views. When you look at AllTrails, it will tell you that it's an 8-mile hike. It says it's about 3,000 feet of elevation gain. I don't know. It doesn't really give you a specific time for this hike, but like I said, it did take us a little over 8.5 hours. The weather that day was relatively cold. When we got there, I believe it was about 35. On the top, it felt just as cold, if not colder. Like I said, we had a ton of snow, but as we were coming down, I think it must have been around 50 because it was super nice. The sun was peeking through, it was warm. It was real good weather.
Like, I have service on.
So on our way back through Conway, we ended up stopping at Sea Dogs over at the Red Barn, had dinner. I ended up having a burger, we had a couple beers. just trying to recuperate a little bit on our way back home. I genuinely enjoyed the dinner there. That was the second time I've been to Sea Dogs. The other one I went to was over in Maine. I've never gone to that one. I'm in Conway quite frequently, so it was a nice place to stop. All in all, I think we ended up spending about 13 hours out there. We left around 5. We ended up getting home around I think 7 o'clock. I got home, I crashed. I couldn't do it. I'm not as active as I used to be. I don't walk every day like I used to, so sometimes walking for 8 hours and then being up for another 6 hours, it drains me. I didn't get enough sleep that night, so but I wouldn't change it for the world. I think the next thing on our to-do list, not hiking wise, is I think we're gonna go to Sherman Farms, see how that is. We usually go every year, do the maze, look for some pumpkins, just let the kids have a good time. We'll see how all that goes. Hopefully I can try to do something with the daughter on that and just enjoy the weekend. So if you've done this hike before, just tell me how it went down in the comment section. I'd like to see what other people's opinion is about this hike. Don't forget to like and subscribe. At the end of the day, that's all I got for this one. Hopefully you guys have a good weekend.